Hello, welcome to Top of the World. This morning, we haven't mentioned the sawmill, but this morning I've got to mill some logs to make some more stillages for the timber. This is my Woodland Mills HM 130. I had a sawmill here before, but it was a traditional 1930s Swedish one run by a Scania engine that I took out of an old snowplough, and every time I run it, it was just wanting to kill me. I mean, really. So in the end, in order to take things seriously, I had to choose a band sawmill. And in a former life, I never thought about budgets and what things cost. But I don't have any money, so I had to think long and hard and search and research about the best budget sawmill. Woodland Mills was the best budget sawmill. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not a wood miser if you want a band sawmill, but if you're on a budget, you can't get better than a Woodland Mills. This is an amazing piece of equipment. Now, I have had to make some adaptations to it because it's a budget machine, okay? And that's important to remember. Now, the shame of it is there's an updated version. The HM 130 2021 has the belt tensioner here, whereas my one, which must have been old stock, you still have to tension the belt by moving the engine. I have added these. Right, you get a bit of a build up on the wheels, and it didn't have any brushes, so I've added the brushes, and that makes a huge difference in keeping the wheels clean. Other than that, I haven't done anything to it, and I don't use this as a hobby machine. This, in the time that I've had this, September 2019, I think, it arrived, and it has milled a lot of timber. So we're going to run this today, make up some boards and stuff we need to make some new stillages, because my old ones and stillages are the containers. I call them stillages, I don't know, but they're the containers that hold the wood. And that we fill up and then move around with forklift, and they can go right down the pit. But we'll get to milling some lumber, and you'll see how it works. Okay, it's ball time, and we'll do that all day. So my Woodland Mills, this is how I've got it set up, and I've got it set up in a very temporary building. I actually had planning permission in this spot for a building the same size as the main building there. 40 metres by 20 metres, or is it 50 metres by 20 metres? Anyway, but this is what I've got, and I've built an extension, a home base, if you like. So you can buy extendable sections for the Woodland Mills, and I needed 6 metres, so I built my little home station where the saw sits, and that gives me 6 metres of cut. How the operation works is we collect all the sawdust in a bucket, which then all goes in the wheelbarrow. So these pine and fir, they go blue real quick. So I like to skin them. So you get the bark off. The bark gets laid there, and that all goes over there, and will get sawn up, and will go in the firewood. Yes, I know. The flat boards, they come off and get sticked and stacked for air drying. And here's last year's stack over here. That's last year's stack. Right, that's this stack here. And I use that to build with as a cover. Traditionally here, everything's used in flat boards, but you can see that building over there. That's built from waste. which is that, and I like that. That's more my kind of style. So what I do is I cube them like this. I skin them. That stops them from going blue. And I do that unless I've got a plan for the boards. If I know what I'm cutting, then I'll cut it straight down to size. I won't do this. But since I've got wood coming in and we're 4 months behind and we've got to do firewood, I'll take all those over there, and all this has come from that big job on the side of the hill, and I'll skin them. And that'll stop the bluing and start the drying process. And you can see a pack there. That's a pack from last year. And the scaffolding, everything I do, there's no way I could renovate the buildings like that if it wasn't for the kindness and the generosity of locals, which is where I get all my wood from. Unfortunately, I don't pay for it. I don't pay for any of it, but I do provide my services for free. So it's kind of like a trade, if you like. I cut them down and then I get to keep the timber that I cut. And this isn't commercially grown timber, this is timber from private land where owners want the odd tree or two removed. So we're going to skin this now, and I've got to make up some timber for some new stillages we're going to use in the factory to make up what we've got. I went for the gasoline, petrol, benzene engine because I do have power out here now, right, from the light. Well, it actually runs down and comes down the pole, and but this makes it more mobile. And eventually I'd like a wood miser, and I'll put this on a trailer. That's the plan, so I can take this to the job. And there's a reason for that, and we'll go into that in another day. But in the meantime, let's get this first one skinned and cut and off so you can see the operation. Part of a budget sawmill is there's no hydraulics, so everything is manual. I have my tractor, of course, which is the biggest advantage I have. But securing the timber and turning the timber and getting it ready is all done manually. Well, we didn't put that up there because we have to shimmy it up at this end. I'm not lifting this. Not lifting that. Using the hand of God. Right. when you're skinning like this, you can see there's no leading edge to debark, so your blades will go blunt much quicker, and I tend to sharpen them, and especially the gussets to stop the cracks in the blades. So Woodland Mills say you'll get about 2 hours out of a blade before it needs sharpening. If you're not skidding, you can get 6 hours out of a blade before sharpening. But they say 2 hours because of the gussets and the fine cracks. Have I had blades snap? 20, 25 blades. They're not particularly good quality blades, but they will do the job. And they are quite cheap. Now comes the back braking bit, and amazing thing about that is for the last 2 years, whenever I've got the chainsaw out, Casper, he has to run an hide in the truck. He's 3, aren't you? Come. He's 3. And he's got over his fear of the chainsaw and other machinery, haven't he? Hasn't forgotten about the ball, but he's really coming into his own tracking. He's a Spanish water dog, Spanx Mattenhund, and they were herding dogs originally, and they use them for fishing and all sorts of other things. But what he likes to do is he likes to track, don't you? The easiest thing for him to track is vehicles. He likes to track vehicles. But if he gets onto the smell of a moose or a deer or a hare, he'll track that as well. We've just got to teach him to get in front of him and bring him back there. But in the meantime, tennis balls. Tennis balls, tennis balls, tennis balls. Right. Turn this over. Now we take these long ones out. They're going to be cutting below the level of this. I watched a couple of YouTube videos on the Woodland Mills HM, and this owner described running his blade into the stops, into the dogs, and he said about distractions, and this is most likely when you're going to make a mistake, and sometimes it's quite busy here with people coming to see me and wanting to distract me and disturb me, and I ignore them when I'm running this machine. But something that stuck in my mind, he said there's two kinds of operators: those that have run into their dogs and those that will do it again. That's not true. That's a false statement. I've been running heavy woodworking machinery 100 times the size of this and 1,000 times its value. I've made one or two mistakes, but I've never run a saw into the dogs. I've never run this saw into its dogs. In fact, I've never damaged a blade by running it into anything. There's things that are hidden inside timber: bullets, hand grenade shrapnel. Right, we'll save that for another day. That leads to huge factory fires. I've had a few factory fires, all of which I've put out with the exception to one, where I was actually just stepping onto a boat in Florida, and I wasn't there for that one, and that factory burnt to the ground. But running into dogs, no, check again, and you won't run into dogs. Now there is a little bar on this that is supposed to be there to stop you from running into dogs, but it's actually more trouble than it's worth, and if the tree is bent then it catches on that, and I don't use it. So yeah, check your stops, your dogs, whatever you want to call them, don't run into them. Why am I wearing a coat this morning? I don't know what the date is, 22nd, 23rd of July. Well, it's the Arctic. Winter can come any day. Alright, we'll strip this bit of bark off the other side. That'll save me a job when I turn it 180 degrees. What does this do? Well, first and foremost, keeps the bugs out of the timber. The bugs, they'll flock to get underneath the bark to lay their eggs. So the boring beetles wake up and bore into the fresh flesh. Not good. It also stops the gluing, which I think I've explained before personally. Well, I like the colours, but not everybody does. But most of the... Right, here's the trick. If we try and roll this over now, we're going to get hooked up on all the small dogs. So we'll put the big ones in. And it'll give us a better back to roll it over. And take them back out. Then you won't run into them. Yeah. So we're square on three sides now. Do you need these in a log this size? Not really. But if they're in, it takes out any wobble and that takes the pressure off the blade. the reason I don't just board it into what I need is because firstly I don't know what I need, because there's no pay-in projects, there's no pay-in work for a number of reasons, but on the basis we're in the middle of 2021, you can guess what the excuses have been so far. Anyway, so we'll take this bit of bark off of there, but that's that. We'll stack that up and then we'll skin the next one. And while we're at it, we're going to cut some different sizes out for the stillages and then take that into the factory and make those up. So that's two side frames for two of the stillages. So that will make two of the upright side frames. For those that don't know, don't put your screws in parallel, put them in opposites. Stops the twist. These bars, cross braces, these will help take the twist out of them. You just need 2 screws. We're building these on a budget. There's a reason we're building these on a budget. Is because I used to be able to buy really, really cheap screws from Screwfix. We won't go into why we can no longer buy stuff from England and Europe, because that's pretty obvious. But anyway, there's the frames. So we'll take 3 of these off, and then we'll continue to put those ones over there until we've got 8 frame sections, which will make 4 storages. And these are all odd bits of tin I've stacked up, collected, and they're offcuts. Everyone's different, but none of them are quite wide enough, which I knew. So this is my collection of odd bits. And a lot of these I collect and rescue from there, which is the scrap metal bin. Anywho, I'm trying to use up some of these short bits I've got here, but I need to cut some down. blood thinning tablets. Bleed out in minutes. Yeah, that'll work. Oh, I'm going to plug you in now. Else we'll have no battery at all. There you go. Each one of those holds 2 cubic metres, or there or thereabouts. So this one's I've got to fix. This is quite a common problem. This is where they get frozen into the ice, and I pick them up and it smashes them. So we replace the pallet on that, and I've got another one out there upside down that broke when we were getting it in. But these replace some of the lost ones, some of the ones that were given away or whatever. Really and truly, I should make some of these each year, but I've never had the time to make them before. It's only because I'm trying to rest my back and wait before I start another project. And the other problem is of course I've got to air dry my wood outside. There's no point in stacking it in the woodshed. You can stack it in the woodshed in March and April, but you can't stack it in the woodshed in July. It won't dry. So we're going to reserve these just for the birch, just to dry them faster. But anyhow, there's another 4 new ones. That'll keep us going for a couple of days. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time. Have you been eating something you shouldn't have done? Have you been eating something you shouldn't have done? Ah, it's goodbye from him, and it's goodbye from me.